Hey, everybody, it's Dave here, and Darren is not. Unfortunately, Darren is too good at what he does. And Darren has been called to another city and another province to deal with the forest fires, just like he normally does. And unfortunately, he's not here today. Why am I hearing? I know. And so, unfortunately, Darren's not here. Well, we won't let that stop the show. First off, I want to acknowledge everybody that showed up today so far. Travis, Sarah, it's always beautiful to see you, Sarah. SKOL for Life, Raymond, Forlorn Hope, the great Dr. Proto. We have, who else? We've got Davey waking up from his nap. SKOL for Life. Chuck, good to have you. And of course, the wonderful and beautiful Miss Mary Fisk. Hey, there's also Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan, how are you guys doing? Flying solo again today. But we have three themes as usual. The first one, I had to throw in the garbage this morning. Why? Because it changed. As over on the writing side, article ideas, I had to put overcome by events. And what's that? Well, the Vikings secured Danielle Hunter, and it's got us all smiling. Second theme is going to be about leadership and an inspirational speech. Hey, I've got a little bit of experience in that area, so we're going to talk about it. And then thirdly, we're going to take our 2024 free agent spotlight, and we're going to turn it on Josh Metellus. Hey, when Darren and I started this series, we never thought, Josh Metellus would be a afterthought. But guess what? It turns out like he just may be. And all that is next on Two Old Bloggers. Vikings First and SKOL presents This Week in Vikings Land with Darren and Dave, your two old bloggers. Boom! And it's me again. No Darren, he's off fighting fires, doing that communication stuff he does. A couple other people hopped in during that. My worthless opinion, far from it. And of course, the great Justin Day. And if you haven't caught it already, Justin did a quick video this morning over our first topic. And we'll get to that. Theme one. Boom. No music. Danielle Hunter. The hold-in is over. Danielle Hunter is in the final year of his contract, and he skipped out on all this year's mandatory events. The OTAs, the picnic, whatever it was mandatory, he skipped out on it up until training camp. And then training camp, he reported to camp because he didn't want to be fined $50,000 a day. Well, as of this morning, the deal is done. Danielle Hunter has signed a renegotiated contract, from what I gather, how they're calling it. And we're going to get into that. But first, let's hear from Sports Dad Joe Zogad.
And I think it's absolutely huge because, again, it looked like the option was going to be without him. If they had had their hand forced and traded him, it was going to be DJ Wanham, who's a backup type of guy. This, to me, is an absolute win as well for the Vikings, and here's why. You know, we had talked about ideally it's a 3-year contract. And we thought, and I'm sure that originally Danielle and his representatives were trying to get a longer term contract with more cash involved. And it seems like the Vikings must have drawn a line in the sand and said, we're not going to do that. We can't. And again, the Hunter camp, while being well compensated, it looks to me like they just said he wants to play. We'll find a way to make that happen. But if I'm the Vikings, I'm absolutely ecstatic because you got a Pro Bowl player back, and he's still a damn good player.
I agree wholeheartedly with Judd's take on that. Danielle Hunter is that damn good player. As many of you have already seen, and I just told you, the exciting news of today regarding the Vikings contract dispute with Danielle Hunter is now over. It's been a long and tense process, but the team finally managed to secure their top pass rusher for another year. Hunter will receive a raise with a guaranteed 1-year deal of $17 million and incentives up to $20 million. As Mary says, it's a win-win for both sides. I tend to agree, Mary. I tend to agree. It's a significant victory for the Vikings and their fans, as Hunter is a key player to the team and having racked up an impressive 71 career sacks, including 10.5 last season. The Vikings have renegotiated Hunter's deal for the third time in 5 years, which is a testament to them wanting to keep him on the team. Despite numerous renegotiations, the Vikings have made it more than fair to Hunter. And I should say those renegotiations was the moving of money forward and now making him feel better with this new $17 million guaranteed up to $20 million salary. I think that's a great thing. And Hunter is obviously valued by the team. In addition to his impressive career stats, he's going into year 8. He has a total of 428 pressures, played across 7 seasons, or played in 7 seasons. Unfortunately, he missed all of the 2020 season with the neck tweak, the herniated disc, and then came back in 2021, but missed 9 of those games with a torn pectoral muscle, which has got to hurt. If you're curious, that 5-year extension he originally signed now gives him an average, if you take that 72 plus the 17 up to 20, gives him an average of making $17.4 million per year over that time period. That pays him as a top edge rusher in this league. Now, is he at the top range of $28 million per? No. But for the last 5 years, 17.4 is big. Big, big, big. Hey there, Jason. Good to see you on the show. And my worthless opinion, you are 100% correct. He is going to get the opportunity to show that he is worth every penny. If Cousins and Hunter are not extended next year, right now, the way this renegotiated contract went was it's $17 million guaranteed, up to $20 in incentives. But there's also a no tag clause, whether it be either tag, the top tag or the transitional tag. There's no tag clause. So he can become a straight free agent. If he's a free agent and Cousins is a free agent next year, expect our dead cap space on an educated guess, because I bet they put some of the money here into a void year as being anywhere from $45 to $50 million, which is going to hurt just a bit. But that'll only be for 3 players: Hunter, Cousins, and Cook. And Cook's is just a little over 3.1. But that's next year. We can worry about that in March. Right now, we've got Hunter on the field, baby. We'll see him out there on Monday. With Hunter secured for another year, the Vikings now can focus on the upcoming season and making a strong push for the playoffs. And I do believe with him out there, that will happen. Hunter's presence on the field will be crucial for the team's success, and his new contract shows that the Vikings are committed to keeping him on the team for at least this season, obviously, and who knows about next March. It's important to remember that the Vikings' communication with their players has been praised by observers, and it doesn't change in this case either. We thought it might, but it doesn't look that way. Even with head coach Kevin O'Connell and general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah have all said nice things about him, right? KOC talked about him and said, yes, I talk to him every day. I think it was those two that encouraged him to come in and sit in versus sitting out and getting fined because they cared about the man. Now, we were all thinking, oh, it's a done deal. Trade's out. It was reported we're going to have a trade. Oh, my God, what are we going to get? And the fan base was mixed on it. Hey there, Grandizer. Welcome to the show. Anywhere from, we deserve a first for him. He's that good. I agree with that. He is that good. To, we're not going to get squat. Get what you can take. We need to at least get something. Right? And people settling on a third day pick. Well, now we don't have to worry at all, period, because it's done. He's playing for the Vikings this season. You've got to absolutely love that. I love that. It's fantastic. And earlier this morning, Judd and Mackie on Purple Daily, they did an emergency video podcast, said there was one of the guys over the cap says, because this is a, quote, renegotiated contract, whatever that means, it resets the parameters for getting a compensation pick. I was like, really? He's got void years yet? I said, nope. He will now be eligible for a compensation pick. If that's the case, not next year, but the following year, we can expect a third rounder. That's a good thing. If it's true and the guy over at OTC is correct, that's a great thing. Because people were willing to settle for a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh. Now we get him for this year. We get all the production of this year versus on waiting to have to draft somebody in that day 3 range and hoping with a low statistical chance that guy pans out and makes it worth it losing him for this season. I don't think it was. I don't think the Vikings thought it was, or they wouldn't have done this deal. Jonathan, you think Hunter goes possibly for 15 plus sacks? I think it's probably going to be closer to 20. But that's just Dave. I really do. I think he's going to want to stand out. I think he's going to want another big contract, and 20 plus sacks will do that. And I think he's in the defense that he can do that. So, Brian Flores is there. You know, he's already said he's going to let Danielle Hunter, when he was asked about Danielle Hunter, he goes, it's not that difficult. I'm just going to tell him to go get the quarterback, which is every edge rusher's dream. Trust me, I played the position, right? That's your primary responsibility. See that guy over there who's yelling, hut, hut, go get him. It's going to be fantastic. And I think he's going to have a great time. And I think the Vikings, I think it's going to open up Davenport even more because obviously opposing offenses are going to focus on Danielle. But I think Danielle is going to absolutely kick some butt this season. He's motivated, baby. And I could see 20-plus sacks. Let him go for the record. Let him make it tough on the Vikings come next March. Not to say, hey, we want to extend you. Here's the big money deal you originally wanted. We're willing to give it to you now. Or they let him walk. And then we get that third-round pick 2 years later in compensation. Either way, Vikings win. Fans win. It's a good Sunday. And as Judd said this morning, it's the first victory Sunday of the season. And you all should be happy about it because it's a good one. Absolutely. My worthless opinion, your guy said he's going to be back, but your gut told you something else sometimes. Sometimes that happens. I am glad he's back. As Timothy says, glad he's back for another year. It also gives Kwesi a little bit more flexibility in 2024 and beyond. 2024 is going to be rough. If you could possibly lose Danielle, Kirk, Harrison Smith may retire. And if those three go, basically the core of the old Zimmer team and Spielman will be gone. I don't consider Darisaw and JJ part of their teams. Yes, they were drafted back then. But the core of those teams will be gone, and the roster will be basically turned over. So it should be interesting. Steven, absolutely. SKOL to the bowl, baby. Let's all meet in Vegas in February. That's the goal. Now on to, speaking of meeting in Vegas in February, theme 2. Bum, 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 bum. My own sound effects, they're horrible. Kirk Cousins. He had an inspiring speech. Now, was it any better than any other speech he had? How was it different? We're just going to have to find out. Right now, we have Steve Weish made a comment about this yesterday.
Yeah, there's an element that appeared in quarterback that I'm going to get to in just a second. Okay. But Thursday after practice, Kirk Cousins, for the first time this offseason, addressed the team. And I had a coach and I had a player told me it was 30 minutes of riveting conversation where Cousins kind of bared his soul, much like he did in the quarterback documentary. But, he talked about his journey coming into the league as a backup and how he stayed the course. And then he got into a routine, lift weights a certain day, drink a certain amount of water every day, just certain things he did so he would keep his sanity and know he would get better. Now, to get to the example he talked about guys you can lead up. And as we saw in the quarterback documentary, there was a sign where he was having trouble getting the plays out. There were lengthy play calls. And backup, Nick Mullins said, record the play call into your phone, and then when you're riding in your car, play back that play call. So Kirk Cousins retold that story last night for his teammates who haven't watched the documentary, and some of them haven't. I spoke to them. And he said that's an example of leading up because Nick Mullins didn't have to share that. He's the backup. He could have been envious or whatever and said, I'm not going to help out the starter. So what Cousins said is these are the types of things that this team needs to succeed. You can be a kick returner. You can do whatever. Help the next man succeed, and as a whole team, they'll grow together. And again, I cannot emphasize this enough. The people who told me about this said it was absolutely riveting. The fact that Kirk Cousins, who's one of the oldest guys on the team, was touching guys who just came into the league with this message to where they were like, this is our leader. Like, this is a righteous guy that we want to get behind no matter what.
Wow. I hope it was all that and more. Really. If it was described like that, it's going to help. Now, we all know a good motivational speech can bring a team together. And the Vikings may have just had their best speech of the year already with Kirk Cousins. It's, from the new rock me style all the way on. And I knew this in the military because we have the same sort of thing. Cousins' speech was described as riveting and absolutely amazing. Sources said it was 30 minutes of pure inspiration where Cousins bared his soul to his teammates and the quarterback spoke about his journey coming into the league, just like we heard from Steve Weiss as a backup, and then stayed the course to become an NFL starter. Cousins also shared some of his personal routines, physical and mental growth. We obviously all saw it on the quarterback, but we're also talking about drinking water, which is healthy, and listening to the play calls on tape. That's one way to remember stuff. I did it in college with notes. I would write the notes, transcribe the notes, read the notes, put them on tape, and then play them and listen to them. And I'd actually fall asleep to them, see if I could get, any more information via osmosis. Seemed to work for me. It's a good sign. It wasn't just veterans on the team that were impressed either. Even the rookies were blown away by Cousins' message. Players are getting ready for practice, and they hear this from Kirk on that one day. Now they're getting ready for practice, and they're going to try to put all this into perspective and how to use it. KJ Osborne was asked about it, and he says, I've had one-on-one talks with Kirk before, but this speech was different. It really showed us how passionate he is about his craft and inspiring. Well, as we all know, Kirk's given some rah-rah speeches before, and they tend to go over flat because Kirk was the guy that came in and punched his card. I'm here at work today. I'll do what I do, and then I'll punch out, and then I'm done. Especially under Zimmer. That seemed to be the way he was. Well, as Justin and I talked about earlier this morning, he's evolving. We saw that last season with some of his decisions and his risk averseness being overcome by we need to go. We need to throw this 4th and 18 ball to Justin Jefferson in Buffalo. I think when you get something from the heart that you can tell the people that you work with, and this is so much the case in football and so much the case in the military, that they'll follow you anywhere, right? They know you've done it. You can get it. Let's go get it. And I like the fact that he says it's not about winning anymore. It's about championships. Before, he was all about, hey, look at my stats. I'm so good. I'm going to polish my game, right? And we always complained. He was the dance floor guy. You put, the black steps on the dance floor, and he would follow them to a T. But if he got pushed off of him, he'd brain lock. Well, now he's starting to get better. Now he's starting to learn. And this is all KOC, I believe. How to not only learn those where the steps are on the floor, but learn them in his mind so they're second nature. So he doesn't have to think on the field. Right? And if something goes wrong, it automatically defaults to something. I solved this way. And then he goes. So it could be, hey there, Rap. It could be that he's evolved to be that leader we wanted him to be. I sound like William Shatner there. But I'm not the only one that's thinking this. Hey, I hope I'm right. I hope I don't revert back to the Dave and Kirk Davey had a great game. He threw for 30 for 32. And I said, yeah, and his longest pass was 9 yards and not a single one past the line of scrimmage. Hopefully that Dave is gone. Hopefully he's convinced me and he plays the way that I can say, yes, Kirk Cousins developed into a great quarterback. And a great quarterback for the Vikings. Davey mentions he didn't hear the speech, and he hopes that Mensah, it gets getting tougher, and when the other guy goes down, to keep on going. Davey was in the military. He knows what it takes. He knows the follow me attitude. He knows what it means to suck it up and press on for the greater good. Maybe Kirk does now too. Let's hope. That's what it sounds like. And maybe this is it. Maybe this will be the special season because Kirk Cousins took the reins and actually has evolved into a true leader and is inspiring the team and that they come together from him. Hey, you say the right things, people will run through a brick wall for you. Trust me, I know. Garrett Bradbury had commented on it during his interview. He said, there's something everyone in the locker room can learn from a guy like that. And he's experienced that. He has experiences that not many of us have had. And he knows how to communicate it in a way that resonates with us. Hey, that's a key part of communication. Knowing your audience. Sarah thinks KOC can develop a QB. If he can develop Kirk Cousins, imagine what he can do with some young guy like Jalen Hall or somebody else that we draft, that he can mold from that piece of clay from the very beginning. Because we all know Kirk Cousins is 35 this year, and that's when quarterbacks tend to go. But, hey, if we can ride it out, if Kirk Cousins, does his full-blown, I got my home trainer that gives me massages and I can zone out and all that stuff, and it causes him to last longer in his career, good for him. I want him to make it so that he gathers up the whole team with him and inspires them to make this a special season. And if he does that, then when come next March, when his contract's up, make it tough on Kwesi and the Wilfs and everybody in the front office that has decision-making power of, well, we should let him walk because we don't have any money. Well, let's extend him. Let's see what we do. It's going to be interesting. I got to give you that. It's going to be interesting. Cousins' speech was really important for the youngest of the Vikings roster as they lost many of the veterans, including Adam Thielen and Eric Kendricks this past offseason. But it wasn't just the words that resonated with the players. It was the way Cousins delivered it. And that is part of communication. Getting people behind you. You've got to be able to do that. And if he finally passed that threshold, like I said at the beginning, he wasn't. He was the clock in, check in to work guy. This might actually be a special season. Hey, time will tell. But this is different. This is way different than anything we've seen year to date or his career to date. Sources say that Cousins' speech was so powerful that you could hear a pin drop in the team meeting room. Coach Kevin O'Connell had a different idea for Cousins when he heard about his plan to address the offense. He wanted the quarterback to stand up in front of the whole team. Not just the offense, but the defense as well. And he gave it over to him and said, hey, this meeting's yours, no matter how long it takes. And Cousins didn't disappoint. It lasted just a little over 30 minutes, which isn't too long. He's not giving, a 2-hour politician speech, which is a whole bunch of blah, blah, and nothing. He's not sitting there at a press conference like Kwesi and KOC even and speaking 30 minutes of blah, 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 and all of that blah, blah. There's only 19 seconds of what is worth listening to. No, it was 30 minutes of riveting, their quote, of what he had to say. And Kevin even said, Kirk's speech was really important for us. It was great to see him stand up and take charge like that. You could hear a pin drop in the room, and it was really powerful stuff. Well, it seems Kirk's speech has really brought the team together. They are more focused than ever, and they're ready to take on the season. That's what we want. That's what we've always wanted as Vikings fans. Get the team all bought in that they can do it. And if Kirk's going to finally step up and be that leader, by golly, let him. And hopefully they succeed that way. Hey, motivation is a key and fickle thing. It can come to you like that, and it can go away even faster. But Davey can attest, I can attest in the military, if you get that right leader, the one that cares, the one that has the knowledge, the one that's probably the best at what they do, and cares about the people around them as well, and believes in the mission, and can speak well, they'll follow you to the end, or you'll follow them to the end of the earth. Colonel Henry Hank Taylor was the one for me that stood out in my career during the Gulf War. He made 2 stars, became General Henry Hank Taylor. He started out as an enlisted man during Vietnam, in the Navy as a crypto guy. But during the Gulf War, he came from a different base. We came from Grand Forks. He came from Griffiths in New York, upstate New York. He took over as the deputy commander for maintenance. He was the most brilliant man I had ever worked for. And we'd follow him to the end of the earth. Our wing commander, we called Wino the Clown. That tells you the night and day difference there can be in leadership. So if Kirk Cousins is willing to step up and take that role, by golly, if he's portraying that to the team, this season can be special. And I hope it's the case. I hope with all my heart. I've been waiting. I'm going to be 60 in October. I followed this team since I was a kid. Mary's been with it since the beginning. If Kirk Cousins can take us to the promised land, and this speech will become back as a key part of that. So, hey, it's not your typical Kirk Cousins rah-rah speech, let's go. It's not him yelling at Adam Thielen, you ran the wrong route. It's nothing like that. It feels like it's more. So hopefully it is. We will see. That brings us to theme 3. Now that I'm all wound up. See, theme 3. Yes. Let me get a quick break here because literally I'm spun up. Aaron, I saw you in there earlier. It's good to see you. And yes, I would love to moonlight as ZZ Top. I've seen them in concert a few times. They are fantastic. One of my first albums I got was their first album when I was in 7th grade living in Houston, Texas, before they were known. They are fantastic. And speaking of Texas, I'm surprised I haven't seen it yet, and it may be because I'm paying too much attention to what I'm saying. What is Dave sipping today? I know you all want to know. TX bourbon, only this one is finished in a cognac. Ooh, hooty tooty cask. It's a little over, it's 101.6 proof. Interesting flavor. It's not my favorite of their products, but it's not bad either. It's got that Texas, I always say Texas funk, but it's the, what do they call that word? I'm going to say Anwa. It's a French word. Let's see. It's not said on here. Of course it's not. But it's all the corn and the wheat and the stuff that's in it is from Texas. So it's of the land. The French word means of the land. And it's good. So, theme 3. This is our 2024 free agent spotlight. And I'm going over somebody, and I was talking to Darren all week. Darren flew out this morning to wherever he's going, and he didn't tell me. But he flew out this morning. But I was talking to Darren all week. I want to do Josh Metellus. Right? And Josh Metellus never came to our mind of, hey, this is a guy to watch because he's a free agent after this year, and we'll probably lose him. I mean, we've thought of Ezra Cleveland, right, as a big one. A whole bunch of them that we've thought of, but Josh Metellus never popped up on that. Well, I want to do Josh Metellus. Why? Because Josh Metellus is turning heads. One in particular, one that should get you excited, and that's Harrison Smith. Hopefully, future Hall of Famer Harrison Smith. Now, for Harrison to probably lock in the Hall of Fame, he's got to be a Pro Bowler this year because Hall of Fame looks at Pro Bowls. I know right now it's a beauty contest and a popularity contest. Back in the day, like when the Purple People Eaters played, it wasn't that. It meant a big, a really big deal, sort of like all pros do today. But Harrison Smith had quite an interesting thing to say about Mr. Josh Metellus.
Yeah, I would say his growth, like you could see it when he first got here. Like he's just a guy that no matter where you put him, he's going to do everything he can to be the best at that, whether it's right guard on punt or safety or whatever. And he's a really smart guy, and he's an explosive player and can do a lot of things, athletically. So that combination, I think it's just his confidence has grown over the years as he's made plays at pretty much every spot he's ever been put at, and not just in training camp or at practice. Like it's the same thing on game day. So it's just it's really fun to watch. Like it's fun to be around guys like that who he loves the game. He could sit up there and run a meeting as a coach right now. Like he's got it that well. I learn a lot from him. Like he knows more a lot of times than I do. So I'm trying to learn stuff from him too. So he's great to be around, and it's a lot of fun to watch him.
Hey, you couldn't ask for anything better than that. That sounds fantastic. Darren and I were discussing it. Last year, when we reviewed some of these guys, there's his PFF grades from last year. And they're good. They're not mediocre. They're not bad. They're good. They're bordering on elite. Elite's 90. He's 85. Unlimited snaps. That's amazing. Now, I wanted to give you a more in-depth update on Josh Metellus, who will be our free agent spotlight for 2024. Metellus has been a key player on special teams since he was drafted in 2020. He's one of Drewster's boys. That's Drew from Vikings Report. Obviously a Michigan fan. To his detriment sometimes. But Drew, we love you. And I'm surprised I don't see you in the comments. He's always been a backup safety. He's been a special teamer and a backup safety. However, last season, he was asked to step in and replace Harrison Smith at safety, and he played exceptionally well. He's a proven track record of growth as evident by PFF, right? I got last year's score up there. Do you know in 2020 his score was a 43.3 for defense? In 2021, it was a 66.6 or 66.0. And then last year, 85.1. Folks, those are 20-point jumps on average per year. That is freaking amazing. Most players do not even come close to doing that. Metellus has received high praise from not only Harrison Smith, like I said, a near Hall of Fame player at safety, and come on, Hall of Fame, do things right. And like I said, if he gets another Pro Bowl year, that should lock him in. But he needs that one this year. Right now, he's borderline. He commended, that being Hitman, Metellus for his explosive plays, smart approach to the game, and consistent growth since he's first joined the team. Smith also praised Metellus' confidence, which has grown significantly over the years. And he's made plays at almost every position he's been put in. We talk about, I've seen in the comments, B-Flow, Brian Flores, is going to use the heck out of him. He's that positionalist player. He can play safety. He can play nickel. He can play linebacker. He could probably play corner in a pinch. B-Flow can move him around the board and utilize him wherever it best matches up against an offense. That, to me, is amazing. As of right now, Josh Metellus is your safety 3. And he's the first to come in on 3 safety packages, which they've been doing in training camp so far. Now, training camp is nothing but shorts and shells, but it shows you what they're thinking. In his own words, Metellus has talked about the unique way he may be used on defense in this upcoming season. He has played nickel, safety, and dime, and he's willing to move around as much as needed. He's been learning the whole defense. And this is a key to a lot of good players. Not only do they know their position, they know everybody on the defense or offense's position and what they're required to do. Not just his natural position as safety, but is excited about the versatility of the new defense team. He has been putting in the work and learned the defense as a whole rather than focusing on one position, which shows commitment to overall success. And I basically just said that. That is 100% correct. Thank you, Mad Chatter. Yes, we did get a good signing today. I appreciate that. So do Vikings fans, because we agree. In addition to his defensive skills, Metellus has been a key contributor to special teams. Heck, he was made special teams captain, along with C.J. Ham. He was made a captain last year when Danielle Hunter went down with his, or not Danielle Hunter, with Brian O'Neill went down with his partially torn Achilles. He deserved it. And it was unanimous. So he's been learning all these different positions on defense, not for personal gain, but rather to help the team win. Hey, I just talked about Kirk Cousins evolving. Does it look like Josh Metellus is doing the same thing on the other side? Only this time he's on his rookie contract. He's not Kirk Cousins going into his 13th year as a quarterback. It's Josh Metellus. We talk about how certain positions take a while to develop in the NFL. I tell you, linemen, give them 3 years minimum. Tell you tight ends, you're drafting a tight end for your next team. Suck it up, Mary. That's the way it is. But Metellus is getting it. He seemed to have got it last year. It seemed to click mentally. And when it clicks mentally, everything becomes easy. And if that's the case, I can't wait to see him on the field. Because he's going to make plays, and he's going to make plays where you don't expect. He may be brought in that as the big nickel. Good for him. But you know Brian Flores is going to have him just wreaking havoc. And we love havoc. But this is going to be one of those other things. He's a free agent next year. Next March is going to be absolutely fascinating to see Kwesi go, oh, shit, I've got to give an extension to somebody. Kwesi hasn't given an extension to anybody, a long-term extension. None, zero, since he's been here. And we've talked about who comes off, who's a free agent next year. Could Josh Metellus be the first one? Possibly. Is he going to break the bank? I doubt it. But I'd love to see this. Booths and scenes are not the number one. Yes, Aaron. Hey, they're not. Like I said, it sometimes takes time. You expect high draft picks to step in early and get it. Sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes they're bad draft picks. Let's hope not, Kwesi. But hopefully Kwesi figures out and does what it takes to keep a winning team. All in all, Metellus is a talented player who has shown remarkable growth, versatility, and dedication to the team's success. His ability to move around the field and play multiple positions is valuable, and it's an asset to the team. His experience on special teams has only improved his defensive skills, and if you looked at his own interview, he wants to keep doing that. Sort of sounds like Patrick Peterson and blocking punts. Hey, I'm all for it. Hey, remember the golden olden days with the Purple People Eaters? Who were on those special teams? Some of those starters were. Why? Because they knew it was best for the team and that they were good at it. And they wanted the team to win. I see a lot of Josh Metellus in that. So, hey, I could be wrong. Who knows? It's not the first time. Ask my wife, her former wife, or rest in peace. She's gone now. But it could be great. And this man is the one that's going to make it that way for us. And I hope it is so good that he wants to stay a part of it and see in the transition of what happens next March. But in the meantime, that he rides this, that the Vikings do take it to where we've never been before. Back to the Super Bowl and hopefully win it. That's going to make, I know I've been up and I've been excited today, but that's going to make a whole lot of us really, really happy. And Josh Metellus will be definitely part of that. It's going to be interesting next March. That's for sure. But as of today, like Judd said, we can count this as the first victory Sunday of the 2023 season. Because there's so much things happening between Hunter being re-signed, Kirk Cousins getting it and inspiring people. I thought I'd never hear that about Kirk Cousins. I followed him since he was at Washington because I lived back there. And now Josh Metellus, what we've learned over the summer, that he got it mentally. And we know his grades. We see how well he played. And now he's coming in. Brian Flores, no, you're my third guy. I'm bringing you in. Folks, this season can be special. It's going to be a tough one. We play a rough schedule. But it could be really, really special. Hey, I want to thank everybody for joining me today. Sarah, Mary, Justin, Aaron, Stephen, Dr. Peroto, Raymond, SKOL for Life, My Worthless Opinion, everybody, Jonathan, the Mad Chatter even for hopping over, and anybody that I missed. We do this for you. I was talking to Justin this morning. We're putting together sort of a schedule, a viewing schedule, when you can hop over from one show to the next, point, within the Viking sphere, what I call Vikings land, where we all gather and we talk our Minnesota Vikings. And I think this is wonderful. I think 2023 is going to be special. And I'm not, now granted, I like to be positive, but I'm also generally realistic, and sometimes I can get a little bit pessimistic, especially when it comes to Kirk Cousins. But I think I've changed my mind. I think I've evolved. Ooh, that's a weird word. I think this season's going to be incredible. And we just have to wait and see and watch it work out. Now, with that, what we've got coming up on Vikings First and SKOL, tomorrow, Monday, 6 o'clock on this same channel, we've got the Real Forno Show. Wednesday, we have the Real Forno Show. And hopefully Sunday, we have Tool Bloggers. And hopefully Darren will be back. That's on the live side. Podcast side. All the live shows go live on podcast the morning after. In the meantime, you have Monday through Friday, I've been doing the Vikings Daily Opener. And basically going over the news of the last 24 hours. I've tried to pick out some of the best stories, summarize them from a variety of spots. Yes, I heavily favor Vikings Wire and Daily Norseman because I'm associated with them in one way or the other. And now Fans First Sports Network, where you can go over there to FFSN app, hit NFL, hit Minnesota Vikings, and you're starting to see our writers that, pardon me, that Tyler and I have gathered together starting to put out content. So you have daily stuff. And then, continuing with podcasts, we have at least once a week, hopefully twice, Justin Day. Purple and gold for days. One will be probably audio of one of his podcasts, one of his videos, but the other one will be exclusive to Vikings First and SKOL. You've got that. This week we're starting midweek musings. That sounds interesting. Sounds like it could get you in trouble, but it should be fun. And we've got this all the way through the preseason. During the regular season, Tool Blogger switches to Saturday at 4 o'clock, same time. And then we'll have a post-game show. But that's what we got going on at Vikings First and SKOL. And we appreciate you coming here. So again, I want to thank all of you from my heart. And what do we say? SKOL Vikings! Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And rate us on your favorite podcast aggregator. Darren and Dave, thank you for watching this episode of Two Old Bloggers. We look forward to seeing you on every show on the new Vikings First and SKOL. You can find our podcast as part of the Fans First Sports Network. Sports takes for the fan, from the fan. SKOL, everybody!